For centuries, the pyramids of Egypt have guarded secrets no one was meant to uncover. But in the shadows of history, the Templars dared to defy them. What they found beneath the ancient stones was so shocking, so forbidden, that it could rewrite everything we know about civilization. Hidden chambers, mysterious symbols, and a discovery that powerful forces have tried to erase from history. Who were the Templars really working for, and what ancient truth did they risk their lives to expose? Stay with me, because tonight, we're uncovering the secrets that Egypt tried to bury forever. I still remember the first time I stood at the edge of the desert, staring up at the Pyramids of Giza. The sun was sinking behind the horizon, casting long shadows across the golden sand, and the air was heavy with the heat of the day. Even from a distance, they felt alive, ancient, almost watching me. I had come to Egypt with one goal: to uncover secrets that had been buried for centuries. Secrets the Templars once sought, hidden deep beneath the stones, whispered about in half-forgotten manuscripts. My journey had begun months earlier. I had discovered a series of old letters in the archives of a small European monastery. They were cryptic, written in Latin, and they mentioned a forbidden chamber beneath the pyramids, something the Templars had risked everything to find. At first, I didn't believe it. How could anyone hide a chamber beneath structures that had stood for thousands of years? But the more I studied the letters, the more I realized that they weren't exaggerations. There were hints, coordinates, and maps in these letters, all pointing to a place that had never been revealed to the public. By the time I arrived in Cairo, I was obsessed. The city was chaotic, full of noise, markets spilling over with colors and smells, a world away from the quiet monasteries where I had found the letters. But even in the chaos, I felt that pull, that invisible thread drawing me toward the pyramids. I hired a local guide, Ahmed, a tall man with sharp eyes and a quiet demeanor. He had grown up near Giza and claimed to know every hidden path, every secret entrance that tourists never saw. I wasn't sure I could trust him, but I had little choice. The first night, we camped near the Pyramid of Khufu. The desert was silent except for the occasional howl of a distant jackal. I remember lying on the sand, staring up at the massive structure looming over me, and feeling a mix of awe and fear. There was a heaviness here, a presence I couldn't explain. Ahmed seemed to sense it too. "These stones remember," he said quietly, almost to himself. "They remember everything." I didn't understand what he meant then, but I would. The next morning, we began exploring the perimeter. Tourists were far away, leaving the pyramids almost deserted. That's when I saw it. A narrow fissure in the limestone, barely visible, partially hidden by centuries of sand and erosion. My heart started racing. Could this be it? Could this be the entrance the letters spoke of? I ran my fingers over the stone. It was cold, older than anything I had touched before, and beneath it, I could feel a hollow space, almost like it was breathing. Ahmed's expression changed. "I've never seen anyone notice this," he muttered. "Not even the locals. This is special." Special didn't cover it. It felt forbidden, dangerous. I knew that if we entered, there would be no turning back. But the pull was irresistible. We found a way inside, squeezing through the narrow opening until we were finally in a dark, underground corridor. The air was damp, heavy, and carried a scent of dust and time itself. Our flashlights revealed walls carved with symbols I had never seen. Some looked Egyptian, some looked like they had been drawn by people who didn't belong to any civilization I knew. It was as if time itself had folded here, leaving fragments of unknown knowledge behind. As we moved deeper, I felt a growing tension. There was something in this place, something waiting. The letters had warned of it, coded messages about traps, warnings, and guardians. I didn't know if they meant humans or something else, but every instinct screamed at me to be careful. The deeper we went, the more I realized that this wasn't just a hidden chamber. It was a vault of secrets, a place the Templars had risked their lives to protect, and now, centuries later, it was our turn to face whatever lay inside. And then, at the end of a narrow hallway, we saw it. A massive stone door, covered in symbols that glowed faintly in the light of our torches. It was unlike anything I had ever seen. The letters had described a door, yes, but nothing could have prepared me for the weight of it, the sense that it was alive, aware of us standing before it. I reached out, and the air around me seemed to hum. Every hair on my body stood on end. Ahmed whispered, "This is it. Beyond this, no one knows what you'll find." I paused. For the first time, I wondered if some secrets are meant to stay buried. But curiosity, that dangerous, irresistible force, won. I placed my hand on the stone. And with a grinding rumble that echoed through the corridor, the door began to shift. The stone door moved slowly, grinding against centuries of dust and stone. Each millimeter it shifted sent a shiver through my body. The air inside the chamber was thick, almost suffocating, carrying the weight of centuries. Ahmed's hand was on my shoulder, steadying me, but even he looked tense. Neither of us spoke. Words felt unnecessary. The silence itself carried a warning. Some secrets were heavy, dangerous, alive. As the door finally creaked open wide enough for us to slip inside, the beam of my flashlight revealed a massive chamber. The walls were lined with stone carvings unlike anything I had ever seen. They were precise, intricate, and clearly not made by hands that followed ordinary human knowledge. Some carvings depicted humans interacting with enormous objects in the sky. Others showed strange symbols, spirals, and geometric shapes that seemed to glow faintly. The further I looked, the more I realized that this was not merely a hidden room. It was a vault of knowledge, a place that defied everything I thought I knew about history. In the center of the chamber was an altar, or perhaps a pedestal. It was carved from black stone that absorbed the light rather than reflecting it. On top of it rested a small chest, no bigger than a shoebox, but when I looked at it, my chest tightened. There was a sense of reverence surrounding it, as if it were alive, aware that we had entered. Ahmed hesitated. "We should be careful," he said softly. "The Templars, they risked their lives protecting this. There could be consequences." I approached the chest slowly, every step measured. My hand hovered above it. The letters I had read before this moment described a key, something that would allow the chest to open without triggering whatever protection it held. But there was no key here, just us and our curiosity. With a deep breath, I pressed the lid. To my surprise, it opened without resistance. Inside, there were a series of scrolls, small tablets, and what looked like a map carved on thin sheets of metal. The writing was foreign, cryptic, yet strangely familiar, as though my mind instinctively understood the symbols. Ahmed leaned closer. These are Templar records," he whispered. "They documented things they found in Egypt, things no one was supposed to see." I carefully unrolled one of the scrolls. The parchment was brittle, the ink faded, but the text was still legible. It told the story of a hidden network beneath the pyramids, a series of tunnels and chambers that had been sealed by ancient priests. The Templars had discovered them during their expeditions centuries ago, and they had recorded everything meticulously. The scroll mentioned artifacts, knowledge of astronomy far beyond what we believed existed at the time, and hints of a power source so advanced it seemed almost magical. But the most disturbing part wasn't what they had found, it was what they warned against. The scrolls were filled with cautionary notes. "Do not disturb the heart. Those who seek it unprepared will awaken forces beyond comprehension." My stomach tightened. Forces beyond comprehension? What could that mean? The letters hadn't prepared me for this. The stories of ancient treasures and historical secrets paled in comparison to the warnings etched into these scrolls. As I read further, I noticed a pattern on the metal map. Lines intersected at certain points beneath the pyramid, forming symbols I had seen on the walls of the chamber. It seemed to indicate a deeper level, a part of the underground network that even the Templars had not fully explored. Or perhaps, they had entered it and returned with grave warnings. Ahmed noticed my gaze. "I've heard rumors," he said quietly, "that beneath the main chamber, there's something the Templars call the heart of the pyramid. No one who entered returned unchanged, if they returned at all." A chill ran down my spine. I had expected mystery, but I hadn't expected danger of this magnitude. And yet, the pull was irresistible. Every fiber of my being screamed to explore further, to uncover what lay beneath. I couldn't stop now. We had already come too far. Ahmed led the way, following the lines indicated on the metal map. The corridors twisted and turned, narrowing in places until we had to crawl through, the air growing colder and more oppressive. Shadows seemed to move in the corners of my vision. At one point, I thought I saw a figure, blurred and indistinct, just at the edge of the torchlight. I told myself it was my imagination, the play of shadows on stone, but the feeling of being watched never left me. Finally, we arrived at another door, smaller than the first but intricately carved. This one pulsed faintly, almost like it was breathing. Symbols from the walls of the first chamber were etched deep into the stone, glowing faintly. The Templar scrolls had described it as the final barrier to the heart of the pyramid. I placed my hand on the door. The vibrations traveled through my arm, a low hum that resonated with something deep in my chest. Ahmed's eyes were wide, his face pale. "Once we enter, there's no turning back," he said. I nodded, swallowing my fear. Something inside me, curiosity, obsession, the need for answers, pushed me forward. The door responded to my touch. Slowly, it began to open, revealing a spiral staircase carved into the stone, descending into darkness that seemed to have no end. The air was thick now, charged, almost electric. My heart pounded. Every warning from the scrolls, every tale of the Templars' peril, echoed in my mind. And yet, we stepped down. What lay at the bottom, I didn't yet know. But I had the sinking feeling that it was something no human had seen in centuries. Something powerful. Something alive. The spiral staircase seemed to stretch endlessly into the darkness. Every step echoed, bouncing off walls carved so precisely it felt unnatural. The air grew colder the deeper we went, heavy and metallic, carrying a scent of ancient stone and something else, something I couldn't name. My flashlight barely pierced the darkness, revealing glimpses of symbols etched into the walls, glowing faintly as if responding to our presence. Ahmed moved silently ahead, his hand lightly brushing the carvings, almost in reverence. At one point I paused. I felt it, an unshakable sense of being observed. The shadows here weren't just shadows. They twisted in ways that seemed intentional, as if guiding us, warning us, or perhaps trying to stop us. My heart raced, but curiosity forced me forward. This was what we had come for. I couldn't turn back now. Finally, the staircase ended at a massive cavern, wide and tall beyond comprehension. The ceiling arched high above us, lost in darkness, and the walls were lined with niches holding artifacts, scrolls, and statues. Many were broken, worn by time, but the craftsmanship was unlike anything I had seen before. Some resembled Egyptian gods, yet others depicted creatures I couldn't identify, hybrids of human, bird, and something entirely alien. It felt as if this place had been a sanctuary for knowledge long before the pyramids themselves were built. In the center of the cavern stood a massive structure, a throne-like seat carved from black stone. The pedestal was surrounded by what appeared to be a circular mechanism embedded into the floor, engraved with intricate patterns and symbols. My pulse quickened as I stepped closer. The metal map from the Templar scrolls had hinted at this, but seeing it in person was surreal. There was energy here, palpable, almost alive. My fingertips tingled as I hovered over the mechanism, feeling a vibration that pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat. Ahmed's voice broke the silence. This is what the Templars were protecting. Whatever is here, it's not just knowledge. It's power. Dangerous power. I nodded, but words failed me. The artifacts around the room seemed to hum softly. I noticed a small chest similar to the one in the first chamber, but far more elaborate. Strange symbols covered it, some moving ever so slightly, as if breathing. I approached carefully and opened it. Inside were dozens of small metal tablets, inscribed with geometric designs and strange writings. They seemed to be instructions of some kind, mechanical, mathematical, and yet spiritual, almost ritualistic. As I examined them, I realized the carvings on the walls mirrored the tablets. It was a pattern, a sequence. Ahmed noticed my focus. The Templars. They tried to decipher this. Some did, some didn't survive. They wrote warnings in the scrolls about activating these mechanisms. I turned back to the circular device on the floor. Something about it called to me, daring me to engage it. My instincts screamed to stop, but I felt a pull I couldn't resist. I stepped onto the center of the pattern, and the ground vibrated beneath my feet. The symbols around the pedestal glowed brighter, casting sharp, angular shadows across the cavern. A low hum filled the air, resonating with every bone in my body. Ahmed's eyes widened. Stop. We don't know what it does. But I couldn't move. Something compelled me forward. And then I saw it, a projection, faint at first, like mist rising from the floor. Slowly, it formed into images. Stars, planets, and celestial alignments that I couldn't comprehend. The carvings from the walls and tablets overlaid with these cosmic patterns, forming a map of knowledge far beyond human understanding. The Templars had been right. This was forbidden. This was not just history. It was a blueprint for something larger, something powerful. Suddenly, the air shifted. A cold gust swept through the chamber, extinguishing some of our torches. Shadows moved independently, writhing along the walls, and I could have sworn I heard whispers, low, unintelligible, but urgent. Ahmed grabbed my arm. "We shouldn't be here," he shouted. "It's watching us." That's when I noticed it. An outline of a figure, tall and imposing, barely visible in the corner of the cavern. It didn't walk, it didn't move like a human. It stood, almost blending with the shadows, observing. My stomach turned to ice. The Templars' warnings weren't just about the mechanisms or the chamber, they were about this presence. Something had been waiting here for centuries, and we had disturbed it. I tried to steady my breathing, to calm my racing thoughts. The tablets, the mechanisms, the symbols, they all pointed to one thing. Knowledge that was never meant to be discovered, a force that could change everything if activated. But at what cost? The whispers grew louder, echoing through the cavern, and I realized we were not alone. Ahmed tugged at my sleeve. "We need to leave now." I hesitated, torn between fear and obsession. One step closer, one moment longer, and the secrets of the pyramid could be ours. But as the figure in the shadows shifted, I understood. Some knowledge is alive. Some secrets guard themselves. We retreated toward the staircase, our torches flickering, the hum of the mechanisms still pulsing beneath our feet. The cavern seemed to react, walls vibrating softly as if acknowledging our departure. I knew one thing with absolute certainty. We had barely scratched the surface. The heart of the pyramid had shown us a glimpse of its power, but it was far from fully revealed. And I had the terrifying realization that the Templars hadn't failed to hide this for nothing. As we climbed back up, the shadows seemed to linger, following us, reminding us that the pyramid's secrets were patient and relentless. We had survived the first encounter, but the true mysteries and dangers were still ahead. We had barely caught our breath after leaving the cavern when I realized something terrifying. The air itself had changed. It wasn't just the chill or the scent of ancient stone. It was the pressure, a weight pressing down on our shoulders, like the pyramid itself was watching. Ahmed glanced around nervously, muttering words in Arabic that I didn't understand. The silence of the desert above couldn't have prepared us for this. Back in the corridor that led to the surface, I carefully unrolled one of the Templar scrolls again. The parchment was brittle, its edges crumbling, but the writing was clear. The Templars had left warnings, almost desperate, scribbled in margins and between the lines. "Do not awaken what lies beneath. The heart is alive. It remembers all trespassers. Only those worthy may proceed." Worthy. The word echoed in my mind. Were we worthy? I doubted it. Every instinct screamed that we had already crossed a line. Ahmed stopped suddenly, his flashlight trembling in his hand. "Look," he whispered. On the walls of the corridor were new symbols, ones we hadn't noticed before. They pulsed faintly, like the heartbeat of the pyramid itself. I felt a prickling sensation, as if invisible eyes were tracking our every movement. The Templars hadn't just left instructions, they had created protections, traps, and messages to guide or warn anyone who dared enter. As we moved cautiously, the floor beneath our feet shifted subtly. A section of the corridor tilted almost imperceptibly, forcing us to step carefully. The scrolls described mechanisms like this, traps designed to test intruders. I realized with a chill that the pyramid wasn't just a tomb or a monument. It was a machine, ancient and precise, guarding something so dangerous that it had to remain hidden. We reached a wider chamber, smaller than the previous cavern but lined with statues. They were humanoid but distorted, their faces covered in symbols. Some held objects in their hands that resembled the mechanisms we had seen earlier. It was impossible to tell if they were meant to protect, punish, or guide. Ahmed and I exchanged uneasy glances. The Templars' warnings now felt real. This was not just history, it was alive. Then I felt it again. The presence. It was closer now, more tangible. A shadow flickered at the edge of my vision, moving independently of the torches. My heart raced. Ahmed whispered urgently, "The Guardian. It's here." I wanted to laugh it off, to convince myself it was a trick of the light. But every instinct in my body told me it was real. The air vibrated, charged with energy. My skin crawled. The Guardian wasn't just observing us, it was testing us. And I realized something even more terrifying. If it decided we were unworthy, it wouldn't just scare us away. I stepped forward, clutching the scrolls, hoping to show respect or understanding. "We're not here to steal," I said softly, almost pleading. "We only seek knowledge, answers that have been lost for centuries." The shadows shifted. The pulse in the walls quickened. I could feel the pyramid's heartbeat accelerating, as if it was listening, weighing us, judging us. Ahmed shook his head, whispering, "Don't speak. Don't move too fast. Let it reveal itself in its own way." We moved carefully through the chamber, each step deliberate. The statues seemed to follow us, eyes of stone glinting as our torches passed. And then, at the far end, a section of the wall slid open silently. Behind it was a smaller, perfectly carved doorway, adorned with symbols that matched the Templar tablets. A faint glow emanated from within. Ahmed took a deep breath. "This is the next stage," he said. "The heart itself." I swallowed hard. My curiosity was a burning fire inside me, but fear gnawed at the edges. We were stepping into something older, larger, and more powerful than anything I could imagine. The Templars' warnings suddenly made sense. They hadn't wanted people to see this. They had wanted people to survive it. I placed my hand on the doorway. The symbols pulsed beneath my fingers, reacting to my touch. I felt a vibration travel up my arm, through my chest, a resonance that connected me to the pyramid in a way I couldn't explain. It wasn't threatening, at least, not yet, but it was alive. Watching. Testing. Waiting. Ahmed's voice broke my focus. "Once we enter, there's no turning back." I nodded, swallowing my fear. We stepped through the doorway and into the next chamber. The air inside was heavier, charged with energy, almost electrical. The floor was covered in intricate patterns, spirals and symbols that seemed to move subtly as we walked. In the center of the chamber was a pedestal, taller than a man, carved from black stone. On it rested an object wrapped in cloth. My hands trembled as I reached forward. As soon as I touched the cloth, a low hum filled the chamber, vibrating through every stone and every bone in my body. Shadows danced along the walls, forming shapes that seemed alive. And then, I saw it, the object beneath the cloth. It was small but emanated a presence so powerful that I staggered back. My heart pounded. The Templars' warnings had been right. Whatever this was, it was not just an artifact. It was alive. The whispers returned, clearer this time. I couldn't understand the words, but the tone was unmistakable. Warning, anger, power. The Guardian had revealed a part of itself, and I realized that the pyramid itself was speaking through this object. The Templars had known long ago that some knowledge demanded respect, or it would demand consequences. Ahmed grabbed my arm. We need to document this, but carefully. One wrong move. His voice trailed off, and I understood perfectly. One wrong move could awaken something we could never control. I nodded. My mind raced, knowing that we were standing on the threshold of something incredible, terrifying, and ancient. And deep down, I knew that whatever happened next would change everything I believed about history, the Templars, and the mysteries beneath the pyramids. The moment my fingers brushed the cloth covering the object, a subtle vibration traveled up my arm. It was faint at first, almost like the pulse of a living heart, but within seconds, the vibration grew stronger, resonating through the stone floor and into my chest. My pulse raced. Ahmed stepped back, his eyes wide with fear. Just don't touch it any longer, he warned, voice trembling. But it was too late. I carefully lifted the cloth. Beneath it lay a small obsidian-like orb, perfectly smooth, glowing faintly from within. The light wasn't harsh, it was alive, shifting and swirling like smoke trapped inside solid stone. The air around us thickened. The whispers returned, louder now, echoing off the chamber walls in a language that was older than anything I had ever known. My stomach twisted, and I felt a strange pull, a compulsion to hold the orb closer, to understand it. Ahmed grabbed my arm again. This is the heart of the pyramid. The Templars' scrolls called it that. They warned. They said it chooses who may proceed. They wrote that anyone greedy, anyone seeking power alone, wouldn't survive its judgment. I felt the truth in his words immediately. The orb pulsed faster, almost like it was alive. Symbols on the floor and walls responded to its presence, glowing brighter, spiraling in intricate patterns. I realized this was more than an artifact. It was a key, a conduit to knowledge the Templars had sworn to protect. And it had chosen to reveal itself to me. I took a deep breath. The scrolls had mentioned a ritual, something the Templars had left behind for anyone brave, or foolish enough to reach this chamber. Following their instructions, I arranged the metal tablets around the pedestal, matching the patterns etched into the stone floor. Each tablet fit perfectly into its designated spot. As soon as the last one clicked into place, the orb began to rise, levitating slightly above the pedestal. Ahmed stepped back, eyes wide. "I warned you," he said, but his voice was tinged with awe. "No one has done this in centuries." Then the whispers changed. They weren't unintelligible anymore. Words formed slowly in my mind, not audible, but directly understood. "You have awakened me. Knowledge demands respect. Seek truth, not power." I felt a surge of energy, a vibration that coursed through my veins, filling me with visions of the past. The construction of the pyramids, the rituals of the ancient priests, the arrival of the Templars centuries later, and the sacrifices they made to protect this secret. The orb pulsed faster, reacting to my thoughts. Images of stars, constellations, and ancient mechanisms flashed before my eyes. I could see the alignment of the pyramids with celestial bodies, the hidden chambers that connected them, and the precise mathematical knowledge that had allowed the ancients to manipulate energy in ways that modern science couldn't explain. It was overwhelming, intoxicating, and terrifying all at once. Suddenly, the chamber shuddered. A deep vibration echoed through the floor, walls, and ceiling. The statues seemed to move, just slightly, as if acknowledging the activation of the heart. Ahmed grabbed my shoulder. "We need to be careful. The Templars said the heart tests those who awaken it. If it finds greed or ill intent, it punishes. Don't let it judge you." I nodded, trying to steady my thoughts. "I only seek knowledge," I told myself. "Not power. Not fame." The orb seemed to respond, the pulsing light stabilizing. The whispers softened, almost approvingly. Then I noticed something unexpected. The orb projected a faint image onto the walls, a map, not of Egypt, but of locations across the globe. Points connected by lines, symbols at each intersection. The Templars' notes had hinted that their discoveries in Egypt were just one piece of a much larger puzzle, a network of knowledge hidden in ancient sites worldwide. And now, through the heart, I could see it all. Ahmed leaned close. Do you realize what this means? They weren't just guarding Egypt. They were guarding the world's secrets. I swallowed hard. The orb hovered higher, and the patterns on the floor rotated slowly, as if guiding us toward something deeper, something beyond the chamber. The Templars' final message was clear. The heart revealed knowledge, but only for those who proved worthy, those who approached it with respect and purpose. Any misstep could be fatal, yet the reward, insight into the ancient mysteries, was unprecedented. As the orb's glow filled the chamber, I felt a presence again, stronger this time. It wasn't hostile, but it was aware, intelligent, and ancient. The whispers now carried intent, guiding me forward, pointing to a narrow corridor hidden in the shadows of the cavern. I knew instinctively that this was the next step, the path deeper into the pyramid's secrets. Ahmed looked at me, concern etched on his face. Once we go further, there's no turning back. The Templars tried to warn us. They knew what awaited beyond this point. I nodded, heart pounding. Fear and excitement surged through me. We had already awakened the heart. Now it was guiding us. And somewhere ahead lay knowledge, power, and danger beyond anything the modern world could imagine. With one final glance at the glowing orb, I stepped toward the shadowed corridor. Ahmed followed, flashlight in hand, and together we moved deeper into the pyramid, guided by an intelligence older than time itself. The corridor ahead was narrow, carved so precisely into the stone it almost seemed unnatural, as if the walls themselves had been shaped with knowledge far beyond our time. The glow of the heart behind us faded, leaving only the faint reflection of the symbols etched into the walls. Every step echoed in the silence, magnifying the weight of the pyramid's presence. I could feel it, as if the stone itself was alive, assessing, measuring, deciding whether we were worthy. Ahmed moved ahead cautiously, his flashlight flickering as if resisting the darkness. The Templars spoke of trials, he whispered. They called it the judgment of the heart. I didn't fully understand at first, but as we advanced, the corridor seemed to respond to us. The floor beneath our feet shifted subtly, tilting in patterns that forced us to balance carefully. Symbols along the walls pulsed in rhythm with our footsteps, almost like a heartbeat. Then it happened. A low rumble vibrated through the stone. Dust fell from the ceiling as a section of the corridor floor slid open, revealing a pit that wasn't there a moment before. I froze. Ahmed grabbed my arm. Step carefully. This isn't a trap for the careless. It's a test. I could feel the presence again, stronger this time, surrounding us. The whispers returned, clearer, almost words now, guiding us, or warning us. Choose wisely. Act with respect. I followed Ahmed's lead, hopping over the pit. My foot barely cleared the edge, and I felt the vibration shift, as if the pyramid was measuring my intent. The adrenaline surged through me. I had never felt anything like this. As we continued, strange phenomena began to appear. Shadows moved independently of our torches, twisting along the walls, forming shapes that were fleeting but unmistakable. Humanoid figures, animals, and symbols that seemed alive. A chill ran down my spine. This was no longer just a chamber or a corridor. This was a living mechanism, and it had sensed our presence, reacting to our every movement. We reached a larger room, the walls covered in carvings and inlaid with faintly glowing stones. At the center was a raised platform, and on it lay several objects, ancient tools, metallic instruments, and more of the strange tablets we had seen before. But what caught my attention most was a large crystal sphere, slightly cracked, humming with energy. It seemed connected to the heart we had just awakened, as if it were an extension of its consciousness. Ahmed knelt beside the sphere. The Templars documented this, he said, voice barely audible. They wrote about energy conduits, amplifiers, but they also warned. They said these devices are unstable, alive even, and they will test anyone who tries to use them. I leaned closer, mesmerized. The sphere pulsed in sync with the heart, the light inside swirling faster and faster. I felt a tug in my mind, almost like the sphere was trying to communicate directly. Thoughts, visions, images of ancient rituals, and cosmic alignments flashed before my eyes. I staggered back, overwhelmed. Ahmed's voice snapped me out of the trance. "Don't touch it. It's not safe." But the moment I stepped away, the chamber shifted. Stone blocks slid along tracks hidden in the walls, and a section of the ceiling lowered slowly. It was a warning, or maybe a test. The pyramid was alive, responding to our presence. Every instinct screamed that we had entered territory the Templars had feared, and the defenses were active now. The whispers grew louder, urgent, almost pleading. "Respect. Understand. Proceed with care." The air vibrated, charged with energy, and I could feel a pressure in my chest as if the pyramid itself were breathing. Ahmed and I exchanged a look, understanding without words. This was no longer exploration. This was survival. Every step, every movement, every thought mattered. Then, without warning, the shadows coalesced into a humanoid form. It was tall, cloaked in darkness, with eyes that glowed faintly like embers. My heart pounded. This had to be the guardian the Templars had mentioned. It didn't move toward us aggressively, but it was impossible to ignore its presence. The energy in the chamber shifted, making the air thick and heavy. Ahmed whispered urgently, "Stay calm. Show respect." The Templars believed this. Thing isn't evil. It's a judge. I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of centuries pressing down on me. The Guardian raised an arm slightly, and the floor beneath us shifted again, forming intricate patterns of light. It was testing us, weighing us, determining whether our intentions were pure. I could feel my pulse synchronize with the rhythm of the chamber, my every thought under scrutiny. And then the whispers changed. They weren't warning us anymore. They were guiding us. "Proceed, knowledge awaits," but only with respect. I nodded to Ahmed, silently agreeing to follow the guidance. Every instinct told me we had passed the first trial, but I knew this was just the beginning. The pyramid's defenses weren't just mechanical, they were intelligent, ancient, and patient. They would continue to test us as we ventured deeper, revealing secrets only to those who proved worthy. With the Guardian's presence lingering behind us, we moved toward the next corridor. My hands were trembling, my heart racing, but there was no turning back. The pyramid had awakened, and so had the journey the Templars had begun centuries ago. Every shadow, every pulse of energy, every whisper reminded me. The deeper we went, the greater the knowledge, but also the greater the danger. The corridor stretched ahead, twisting and turning like the coils of some enormous serpent hidden beneath the pyramid. Shadows clung to every corner, moving as if alive, and the faint glow from the symbols on the walls pulsed in rhythm with the heartbeat of the heart behind us. Ahmed's flashlight flickered, and I realized the light itself seemed to be reacting, dimming and brightening as if the pyramid was testing our focus, our patience, our resolve. We reached a larger chamber, wider and taller than anything we had seen since entering the heart. The walls were covered in inscriptions, carefully carved, precise, layered over each other in patterns that made my head spin. Some symbols were familiar from the tablets, others were completely alien, spiraling in complex geometries I couldn't comprehend. The Templars had documented their findings in these carvings, but centuries of secrecy had left them incomplete, fragmented. It was a puzzle, one meant to be solved only by those who could see beyond the ordinary. Ahmed knelt near one section, tracing the symbols with his fingers. "The Templars left notes," he whispered. "They described rituals, alignments, calculations, but also warnings. Every step in this chamber has to be precise. One wrong move and the mechanisms will activate." I studied the inscriptions carefully, matching them with the tablets we had brought from the first chambers. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. Sequences of symbols corresponding to movements, positions of objects, and even timing. The Templars hadn't just recorded what they found, they had designed a guide, a key to navigating the pyramid's defenses. But it was cryptic, demanding complete attention and understanding. As we pieced together the sequences, subtle shifts began in the chamber. The floor vibrated faintly beneath our feet, and symbols along the walls glowed brighter as we completed each correct alignment. The whispers returned, clearer this time, almost instructing us directly. Align. Step carefully. Understand. Then, without warning, a section of the wall slid open, revealing a series of small niches. Inside each niche was an artifact, some mundane at first glance, a stone tablet, a carved figurine, but each one radiated a faint energy. When I touched one, the symbols on the floor reacted, lighting up in complex patterns. The Templars had built not only warnings but interactive mechanisms. The pyramid itself responded to our actions, testing our knowledge, intent, and respect for its secrets. Ahmed's voice was tense. Be careful. They said the heart chooses. It rewards understanding, not recklessness. Don't let curiosity become greed. I nodded, keeping my hands steady. As we continued deciphering the inscriptions, I noticed the Guardian's presence again. Shadows shifted near the edges of the chamber, more defined than before, almost humanoid. It didn't attack, but I could feel its intelligence, assessing us, weighing every move. The pulse, the vibration of the pyramid and the heart, grew stronger, syncing with our actions. Then something extraordinary happened. As we aligned the final set of symbols, a mechanism in the center of the chamber activated. The floor shifted subtly, revealing a stairway descending further into darkness. Light from the heart and the pulsing symbols illuminated the path just enough for us to see. This was new territory, deeper than anything the Templars had dared to reveal fully. Ahmed looked at me, pale but determined. This is it. The next chamber. The inscriptions led us here. The Templars left this path as a warning and a guide. I swallowed hard, the weight of the journey pressing down on me. Every step we had taken had been precise, measured, and respectful. The pyramid had judged us worthy so far. But I knew the deeper we went, the more dangerous the tests would become. The Guardian, the whispers, the mechanisms, all were preparing us for what lay ahead. Knowledge so ancient, so powerful, that the Templars had devoted centuries to hiding it. We descended the stairway slowly, the energy in the air thick, almost electric. The chamber below promised revelations, but I felt the unmistakable sense of being tested still. The Templars' final inscriptions hinted at the ultimate secret, the culmination of the heart's power, but we were only glimpsing its surface. As we stepped into the darkness below, the whispers intensified, and the shadows coalesced slightly, forming shapes I could just barely recognize. Humanoid figures in flowing robes, symbols hovering around them. The pyramid was alive in a way I could barely comprehend. And I understood something terrifying. The heart didn't just guard knowledge. It demanded understanding, vigilance, and respect. Ahmed whispered, almost in awe. This is more than a secret. This is a legacy, a warning, and a test. We have to be careful. One mistake, one misstep. I nodded, heart pounding, feeling the weight of centuries pressing down on us. We had passed the first trials, deciphered the inscriptions, and activated the mechanisms, but the pyramid still had far more to reveal. And somewhere deeper, the heart's ultimate secret awaited, ready to judge us for our intentions. The deeper we descended, the heavier the air became. Every breath felt thick, almost charged, vibrating in rhythm with the faint hum emanating from the heart above. Shadows flickered along the walls, no longer just passive shapes, but forms that twisted and shifted with purpose. The inscriptions and mechanisms we had deciphered led us here, but I could feel that the pyramid itself was preparing for something far beyond what we had experienced. As we stepped into the next chamber, the heart's glow intensified, casting long, distorted shadows. The orb hovered above the pedestal, radiating energy that made the very stone hum beneath our feet. I felt it in my bones, the pulse, the heartbeat of the pyramid, resonating in a way that was almost conscious. Ahmed whispered, his voice barely audible. It's awakening fully. The Templars warned that once it does, everything changes. I approached cautiously. The air around the heart seemed to move, swirling, charged with an invisible force. The symbols on the floor and walls flared brighter as if reacting to our presence, connecting in intricate patterns that I could barely comprehend. The whispers returned, louder, sharper now. Intent. Worthy. Understand. Or be consumed. Suddenly, the orb expanded, the light intensifying until the chamber was bathed in a brilliance that was almost painful to the eyes. The air vibrated, carrying voices, visions, memories of the pyramid itself. I staggered back as images flooded my mind. The construction of the pyramids, rituals of the ancient priests, the arrival of the Templars centuries later, and their sacrifices to protect this knowledge. I could see the world as they had seen it, the alignment of stars, and the hidden energy coursing beneath the Earth's surface. Ahmed grabbed my shoulder, steadying me. It's showing us everything. The heart reveals knowledge, but it also tests the mind, the intent. If you falter, it punishes. The symbols on the floor began to rotate, spiraling toward the pedestal. Energy ripples spread across the chamber, tugging at us, making movement difficult. I could feel the pulse synchronizing with our own heartbeats, forcing us to maintain calm, focus, and clarity. Any hesitation, any greed, any fear, it would know. The Templars' warnings echoed in my mind. Respect. Understand. Proceed with care. Then the shadows shifted again. The Guardian, previously unseen, emerged fully into view. Tall, cloaked in darkness, with faintly glowing eyes, it didn't approach aggressively but moved with purpose, circling the chamber. Its presence was overwhelming, commanding, almost parental in judgment. It observed us closely, testing our resolve, our focus, our intentions. I extended my hand toward the orb, steadying myself. The whispers guided me. Knowledge is not possession. Knowledge is understanding. Slowly, carefully, I reached for the heart. The energy pulsed through my fingertips, a vibration that resonated in every nerve, every bone. I could feel the pyramid assessing me, weighing my heart, my mind, my purpose. Visions intensified. I saw the Templars who had come before us, their discoveries, their mistakes, their sacrifices. Some had faltered, overcome by greed or fear. Some had perished, leaving only warnings etched in scrolls. But those who survived had left guidance, encoded in symbols and mechanisms, for future seekers who approached with respect. Ahmed's voice broke through the flood of images. It's communicating, listen. I focused, trying to interpret the whispers, the vibrations, the visions. The heart wasn't just a repository of knowledge, it was alive. It responded to intent, discerned honesty, and rejected corruption. I understood then why the Templars had risked everything to protect it. This was more than history. This was power, energy, understanding beyond anything modern humanity could comprehend. The orb pulsed faster, and a projection formed in the chamber. A map of celestial alignments, ancient sites across the globe, and energy nodes that connected them. The Templars' notes had hinted at this network, but seeing it in full revealed a reality I couldn't have imagined. The heart was a hub, a repository of knowledge, a beacon of energy, and a test all in one. The Guardian stepped closer, though it never touched us. Its glowing eyes studied us, probing, judging. I felt its intent, and I knew we had passed the initial trial. The heart acknowledged our respect and purpose. But it was clear that the challenges ahead would be even greater. This was just the beginning. Ahmed exhaled slowly. We've awakened it fully. But this is far from over. The Templars left warnings for a reason. The pyramid itself tests everyone who dares reach this depth. What lies ahead is what they feared the most. I nodded, my mind still flooded with visions and energy. The heart had revealed its first truths, but the pyramid's secrets were vast, layered, and alive. And somewhere deeper, the Templars' final message awaited, the ultimate test, and perhaps the greatest revelation of all. We took a deep breath and moved forward, deeper into the heart of the pyramid, each step heavier, charged with energy, and filled with the realization that history, knowledge, and power were intertwined in ways that could change everything we thought we knew about the world. The deeper we moved into the pyramid, the heavier the air became. Every breath felt charged, vibrating in rhythm with the heart, the orb we had awakened, and the energy flowing through the chamber. The shadows along the walls began to shift again, more distinctly this time, forming humanoid shapes that seemed alive, deliberate, and purposeful. I felt a presence behind me, something watching, evaluating, testing our every move. Ahmed's voice was tense. The Templars warned that the heart tests intentions. We have to be careful. It doesn't just observe, it judges. I nodded, my pulse racing. The Guardian, which we had glimpsed faintly before, now stepped fully into the chamber. It was tall, cloaked in darkness, and its eyes glowed faintly like embers. Every movement was deliberate, almost ceremonial, as though it were performing a ritual of judgment. Its presence alone made the energy in the chamber intensify, vibrations running through the floor, walls, and even the air itself. We approached a central platform where the heart hovered. The orb's light pulsed faster, resonating with the Guardian's presence. Ahmed pointed to inscriptions on the walls. The Templars left messages here. Warnings. They spoke of tests. Physical, mental, spiritual. Only those who pass may proceed. I stepped closer, trying to steady my nerves. The whispers grew louder, now forming words in my mind. Intent, honesty, purpose. Every thought, every desire, every impulse was being evaluated. I realized the pyramid could sense our intentions, our fears, and our inner truth. Suddenly, the floor beneath us shifted slightly, forcing me to step carefully. Symbols on the platform glowed, aligning with the pulses from the heart and the Guardian's movements. Ahmed and I exchanged glances. The Templars had encoded instructions into every surface, every mechanism. The pyramid wasn't just protecting knowledge, it was testing our worthiness to access it. Then the Guardian acted. With a deliberate motion, it extended an arm, and a section of the chamber floor rose, revealing a shallow pit filled with swirling shadows. The air became thicker, harder to breathe. I realized this was the first direct test, the first active defense. The Guardian wasn't attacking, it was challenging us, forcing us to demonstrate our intent. Ahmed whispered, almost in awe, "We have to show respect, understanding, not greed. That's the only way." I nodded and took a careful step forward, following the inscription's instructions. Every movement mattered. The shadows shifted with us, sometimes closing in, sometimes parting, as if the pyramid itself were guiding us. The whispers in my mind became clearer. Align. Step carefully. Show respect. As we navigated the pit, I felt a strange force tugging at my thoughts, trying to instill doubt, fear, or distraction. The Templars' warnings made sense now. The heart didn't just guard knowledge, it tested the mind. Anyone seeking power alone would fail. Anyone reckless would be consumed. Only those who approached with understanding could survive. Finally, we reached the other side. The pit closed silently behind us, the floor returning to its original form. The Guardian observed us silently, its glowing eyes fixed on our movements. For the first time, I felt that it acknowledged our intent. We had passed the first trial. Ahmed exhaled slowly. The heart is alive. The Guardian, it's testing us, but it recognizes our purpose. We've passed the first stage. The Templars, they wanted only those who understand, who respect, to continue. I approached the orb again. Its light pulsed, resonating with the chamber, the symbols, and the Guardian's presence. Visions filled my mind. The Templars who had come before us, the rituals they performed, the sacrifices they made to protect this secret. Some had faltered, overcome by greed, fear, or impatience. Some had perished, leaving only warnings behind. The Guardian stepped back slightly, allowing us to approach the pedestal. The whispers softened, almost approvingly. Proceed, understanding, worthy. I realized then that the pyramid itself was alive in a way I had never imagined. It wasn't merely stone and mechanisms, it was consciousness, ancient and patient, capable of judging those who dared to seek its secrets. The heart wasn't just a source of knowledge, it was a teacher, a judge, and a guardian all at once. Ahmed looked at me, his face pale but resolute. "We've passed this trial, but the Templars' final warnings. They spoke of the ultimate challenge. The heart doesn't just test skill. It tests soul, intent, and understanding. What lies ahead is what they feared the most." I swallowed hard. The Guardian remained, its glowing eyes following every move. The heart pulsed, resonating through the chamber. And I knew, with a sinking certainty, that the next stages would push us further than we had ever been, revealing truths the world was not meant to know, unless we survived the judgment. The chamber felt alive, vibrating with energy from the heart above. The shadows shifted, flickering across the walls as if breathing, twisting and forming shapes that hinted at a history far older than human memory. The Guardian watched silently, its glowing eyes fixed on us, measuring every movement, every thought, every intention. I realized that nothing in this pyramid was random. Every detail, every symbol, every pulse of energy had a purpose. Ahmed whispered, barely audible. "The Templars left records of something, a culmination of knowledge. They feared what it could do if misused." I nodded, swallowing hard. The orb hovered above the pedestal, radiating an intensity that made the air itself hum. As I studied the symbols etched into the walls, I realized they weren't just instructions. They were a map, a guide to understanding the heart's ultimate secret. The Templars had embedded their knowledge, warnings, and wisdom into every surface, every carving. But the key wasn't just observation. It was understanding, intention, and respect. I approached the pedestal, feeling the orb's energy thrumming in resonance with my heartbeat. The symbols on the floor pulsed as I moved, and faint visions began to swirl in my mind. Ancient priests performing rituals, celestial alignments over Egypt, and the construction of the pyramids themselves. Then came the Templars, centuries later, uncovering hidden chambers, recording secrets, and leaving warnings for anyone who dared follow in their path. Ahmed stepped beside me, pointing to inscriptions on the wall. The Templars called this the knowledge of alignment. They believed the pyramids weren't just tombs, they were machines, energy conduits, tied to the stars, the earth, and even human consciousness. This is what they protected. As I focused, the heart pulsed brighter, projecting images across the chamber. I could see connections between distant sites, stone circles, hidden temples, pyramids, and monuments aligned in ways that defied conventional understanding. Lines of energy connected them, intersecting at nodes that seemed to amplify ancient knowledge and power. The Templars' writings made sense now. They weren't guarding treasure, or even just historical records. They were guarding the keys to understanding a network of energy older than humanity itself. The Guardian shifted closer, its presence immense yet calm. I sensed its judgment. We were being tested, not just on courage, but on comprehension. Could we understand the knowledge responsibly? Could we respect its magnitude? The whispers in my mind became clearer, forming words: perception, purpose, intention. I carefully touched one of the floating symbols projected by the heart. The energy flowed through my body, images and insights flooding my mind. I could feel the rhythms of the earth, the resonance of the stars, and the hidden connections between ancient civilizations. It was overwhelming, intoxicating, and terrifying. The heart revealed knowledge beyond our time, knowledge the Templars had safeguarded because they understood its power and its danger. Ahmed's voice broke through my reverie. "We have to focus. Knowledge like this, it can't be possessed. It must be understood, respected, and shared carefully." The Templars failed to ensure the world would ever know this safely. The Guardian's presence intensified, and I realized it wasn't just observing anymore. It was interacting, guiding us through the chamber, revealing insights in response to our attention and intent. Every movement, every thought, every choice shaped the energy around us. The heart was alive, conscious, and aware of how we engaged with it. Then, without warning, the chamber shifted. Sections of the walls rotated, revealing new inscriptions and mechanisms previously hidden. The heart pulsed in sync with these changes, as if approving our understanding so far. But I knew the Templars' ultimate warnings applied still. The deeper we went, the greater the trials, and the more dangerous the knowledge. Ahmed took a deep breath. This is what they wanted to protect. Not gold, not treasure. Knowledge. Understanding. Power beyond reckoning. But it comes with a cost. The heart tests everything. Your mind, your spirit, your intentions. One mistake. I nodded, heart pounding. The Guardian's glowing eyes held mine, as if silently reminding me of the responsibility we had just stepped into. The heart had revealed the first layer of the Templars' ultimate knowledge, the alignment of Earth, stars, and ancient civilizations. But I could feel there were deeper layers, secrets even the Templars hadn't fully documented. As the chamber's energy swirled around us, I understood one thing with terrifying clarity. The heart didn't just guard knowledge, it demanded understanding. It rewarded respect. It punished hubris. And the further we went, the more the pyramid would test us, shaping us for whatever truths lay at its deepest core. We took a step forward, deeper into the chamber, toward the next layer of the heart's revelations, knowing that the ultimate knowledge, the one the Templars feared most, was still ahead, waiting for those who could prove worthy. The chamber grew heavier with energy as we advanced. The heart pulsed in a rhythm that matched the faint vibrations of the pyramid itself, and the shadows along the walls twisted into forms that seemed almost sentient. The air smelled faintly metallic, charged with something ancient, powerful, and alive. I realized we were no longer just in a tomb, or even a machine. The pyramid itself was a living, conscious entity, responding to our presence, our thoughts, our intent. Ahmed's voice broke the silence. The Templars called this stage the alignment. They believed the heart could synchronize with celestial events, with the earth itself. When aligned properly, it can reveal knowledge beyond comprehension. I looked at the orb hovering above the pedestal. Its glow had intensified, casting intricate, moving shadows across the walls. I felt a pull, as though the heart were beckoning me closer. As I stepped forward, the symbols on the floor shifted subtly, forming new patterns, spirals converging toward the center. And then it happened. The chamber seemed to respond to us, but not mechanically. The very air began to shimmer. Light refracted through the orb, projecting patterns onto the walls and ceiling that mirrored constellations I had never seen. Stars aligned within the chamber, forming a celestial map that connected earthly monuments with cosmic points. I realized that the pyramids, the temples, and other ancient sites weren't random. They were part of a vast, interconnected system, perfectly aligned with the universe. The whispers returned, now forming coherent thoughts in my mind. Observe, comprehend, align. The heart was guiding us, testing not our strength, but our understanding. Every detail mattered. The position of the symbols, the angles of light, the rhythm of our steps. Misalignment, even a momentary lapse in focus, could provoke the pyramid's defenses. Ahmed gasped, pointing to a section of the wall. A projection of a Templar ritual unfolded, shimmering in ghostly light. I saw figures placing tablets, aligning artifacts, and activating mechanisms in precise sequences. The ritual wasn't merely ceremonial, it was functional. The Templars had synchronized with the heart centuries ago, activating part of its knowledge and energy. Their notes had warned that only those with clarity of purpose could follow without harm. Suddenly, I felt it, the Guardian. Its presence intensified, and I realized it wasn't just watching anymore. It was interacting. Shadows formed humanoid figures that mirrored our movements, almost as if teaching, guiding, or testing us. I understood. This was the pyramid's way of ensuring we comprehended its secrets, not merely observed them. As we followed the patterns, a low hum filled the chamber. The symbols on the floor rotated, aligning with the projections of stars on the walls and ceiling. The heart pulsed faster, sending vibrations through the stone beneath our feet, synchronizing with the celestial map. I felt visions flash before my eyes, the construction of the Great Pyramid, the movements of the stars across centuries, and the Templars entering secret chambers, leaving warnings, and performing rituals to protect the heart's knowledge. Ahmed whispered urgently, "It's showing us everything. The heart doesn't just store knowledge. It connects past, present, and future. It shows alignment between human intention and cosmic order. The Guardian shifted, forming closer humanoid shapes, almost guiding our hands as we manipulated the floating symbols projected by the heart. My mind struggled to comprehend the scale. Energy flows connecting distant sites, celestial alignments, and the power of the heart itself. Every choice we made influenced the patterns, creating or breaking connections. Misunderstanding or arrogance could have catastrophic consequences. Suddenly, the chamber shook. The heart pulsed violently, projections blurring into visions of possible futures, some bright, some catastrophic. The whispers grew urgent. Intent matters. Knowledge must be respected. One step wrong and understanding collapses. My stomach churned. The pyramid wasn't just testing skill, it was testing morality, comprehension, and integrity. Ahmed grabbed my arm. We need to focus. It's showing us what could happen, depending on how we proceed. We have to prove ourselves worthy. I nodded, heart pounding. Every step, every alignment of symbols, every understanding of the projections became a test of both mind and character. The Guardian's eyes glowed brighter, observing, approving or warning with each correct or hesitant action. As the patterns settled, the room grew silent, the pulsing of the heart slowing slightly. I realized we had passed another stage. The pyramid acknowledged our intent, our comprehension. But I knew, deep down, that the most dangerous tests were still ahead. The Templars' ultimate warnings weren't about knowledge. They were about the consequences of misusing it. The Guardian receded slightly, but its presence remained, a silent reminder that this journey was far from over. The heart had revealed its first cosmic truths, its connection to earthly monuments, and the Templars' careful protection of that knowledge. And yet, the deeper secrets, the ones the Templars had feared, were still waiting, hidden in the heart's final chambers. Ahmed exhaled slowly. We've seen alignment, glimpsed the heart's connection to the universe. But the real challenge, the Templars' greatest fear, is still ahead. I swallowed hard, realizing the pyramid itself had become both teacher and judge, and the Guardian would not allow us to proceed without absolute clarity, respect, and understanding. The chamber had grown colder, heavier, almost impossibly dense with energy. The heart above us pulsed rhythmically, but now each beat seemed to carry a weight beyond comprehension. It was no longer just a source of knowledge. It was a living consciousness, fully aware of us, our intentions, and the paths we might choose. Shadows flickered and danced along the walls, some forming humanoid shapes that mirrored our movements. The Guardian had not left. It was closer now, hovering like a sentinel, glowing eyes fixed on every detail. Ahmed's voice broke the tense silence. The Templars wrote about this. The heart doesn't just protect knowledge, it projects possible futures. It tests your moral compass, your understanding of consequences. This is its ultimate trial. I nodded, swallowing hard. The air vibrated, and suddenly the chamber was alive with visions. Ghostly images projected themselves in every direction, showing the consequences of actions we might take. I saw empires rise and fall, natural disasters, wars sparked by misuse of knowledge, and civilizations destroyed by hubris. The heart revealed not only the past, but the potential future of anyone who dared wield its secrets. Ahmed grabbed my arm. See. The heart is showing us the price of ignorance, greed, or misuse. It doesn't forgive mistakes. The Templars knew some knowledge was too dangerous to leave unguarded. I focused on the projections. The visions weren't just random, they responded to my thoughts. When I hesitated, the images darkened, filled with chaos and ruin. When I concentrated, seeking understanding rather than power, the scenes shifted, showing balance, advancement, and preservation. The heart was teaching us a lesson. Knowledge is responsibility, not possession. The Guardian stepped closer, its form solidifying, and for the first time, I felt an almost physical pressure from its presence. Shadows curled around us, testing, probing, challenging. I realized that passing the heart's moral test wasn't just about thought. It required alignment of intent and action. The Templars had left warnings for a reason. Only those who understood the weight of their choices could proceed safely. Ahmed whispered urgently, "We need to prove ourselves worthy, through understanding, respect, and integrity. Anything else, and the heart could punish us." The orb above pulsed violently, casting the chamber in shifting patterns of light. A new vision emerged, a Templar knight kneeling before the heart centuries ago, placing a hand upon the orb. The knight's eyes were solemn. He hesitated, tempted by the power the heart offered, but then stepped back, showing restraint and respect. The whispering intensified, "This is the way. This is the path." I understood immediately. The heart doesn't reward curiosity alone, it rewards comprehension and ethical intent. The visions continued, showing not only past mistakes but the lessons learned by those who had approached the heart with humility. The Guardian's glowing eyes seemed to acknowledge this understanding in us, moving slightly as if nodding approval. Then the chamber shifted again. Sections of the floor rotated, revealing new inscriptions and pathways. Symbols glowed brightly, pulsing in response to the moral clarity we had demonstrated. But the whispers remained, cautioning, "The journey isn't over. True understanding is tested at every step. Misuse corrupts. Respect preserves." Ahmed exhaled, pale but resolute. "We've passed the first moral and intellectual tests, but the heart's ultimate challenge, the knowledge the Templars feared most, is still ahead. It's not enough to understand the past or the stars. It demands insight into the consequences of human action." I nodded, heart racing. The Guardian remained, ever vigilant, its glowing eyes tracking every movement. The heart pulsed with greater intensity, resonating with the chamber, the inscriptions, and our intentions. I could feel the pyramid's intelligence guiding us forward, but also warning us of the dangers that lay beyond. Stepping carefully along the newly revealed path, I realized something terrifying and exhilarating. The pyramid wasn't just a tomb or a machine. It was a living teacher, judge, and protector. Its knowledge was infinite, its power immense, and its tests unrelenting. And the Templars' ultimate warning echoed in my mind. Only those who proved worthy, through respect, understanding, and moral clarity, could survive and truly grasp the heart's secrets. We moved forward together, deeper into the pyramid, every step charged with tension, awe, and the knowledge that the greatest trials, and the most profound revelations, were still ahead. The heart had begun its ultimate test, and we were now fully immersed in its ancient, living intelligence. The chamber's energy had reached an intensity one could scarcely comprehend. The heart hovered above its pedestal, glowing with a brilliance that illuminated every corner, every shadow, and every symbol etched into the walls. The air itself vibrated, and I felt the pulse, not just in the chamber, but through my entire body. The pyramid had become more than a structure. It was a living, conscious entity, responding to every movement, every thought, every intention we displayed. Ahmed's voice trembled. "This is beyond anything the Templars could have imagined. Or maybe they understood it better than we do. The heart. It's alive." I nodded, my senses overwhelmed. The shadows along the walls began to coalesce into more defined forms. The Guardian, ever watchful, now moved with purpose, circling us, interacting subtly with our actions. It wasn't threatening, but I could feel its presence pressing on my mind, testing our resolve, our comprehension, our integrity. And then the heart manifested in ways I hadn't expected. Faint, translucent projections appeared above the pedestal. Scenes from distant pasts, impossible futures, and alternate realities. I saw the Templars in secret chambers, performing rituals to protect the heart, each action precise, deliberate, filled with knowledge and fear of what could happen if it fell into the wrong hands. I saw civilizations rise and fall, guided or devastated by the misuse of such knowledge. Ahmed whispered, almost reverently, "It's showing us the consequences of human choice. Knowledge without understanding leads to destruction. That's why the Templars protected it so fiercely." The heart pulsed violently, and the chamber itself seemed to breathe. Symbols on the walls and floor moved in response, forming patterns that spiraled and twisted with the orb's energy. It wasn't just projection anymore. The heart influenced reality inside the pyramid. I felt my own perceptions shift, visions of distant lands, hidden structures, and celestial alignments blending with the present chamber. It was dizzying, exhilarating, terrifying. Then the Guardian stepped closer, almost touching us with its presence. Its glowing eyes seemed to pierce through every thought, every intention. I realized this was the ultimate test. The heart was now judging not just our understanding, but our morality, our ability to handle knowledge responsibly. Any hint of greed, fear, or arrogance would provoke a consequence. Ahmed grabbed my arm. Focus. Remember what the Templars wrote. The heart doesn't punish ignorance, it punishes misuse. Respect. Understanding. Intent. I nodded, heart pounding. As I concentrated, the projections became more coherent. I saw ancient mechanisms aligning with celestial events, energy nodes across the globe glowing in sequence, and the Templars' careful documentation of these networks. The heart was a hub, a living archive of power, energy, and understanding, but only for those who approached with clarity and respect. The chamber trembled slightly, and for a moment, I felt the Guardian's presence press directly against my mind, challenging me. Do you understand the weight of knowledge? Do you comprehend the consequences of misuse? I responded silently, focusing on understanding, not control. The heart pulsed brightly, and the projections stabilized, as if acknowledging my intent. Ahmed mirrored my concentration, and the Guardian slowly stepped back, signaling approval. But the heart's final challenge was still ahead. The Templars' warnings had been clear. The ultimate knowledge it protected was dangerous. It wasn't just history or science. It was insight into energy, consciousness, and cosmic alignment that could alter the world if misused. And now, we were ready to glimpse it, to face the consequences of truly understanding the heart. As the projections faded slightly, a new pathway revealed itself at the back of the chamber. Symbols on the floor aligned toward it, pulsing in sync with the heart. I realized this was the final stage, where knowledge, morality, and comprehension would converge. The Guardian moved to stand at the entrance, a silent sentinel ensuring we were ready. Ahmed took a deep breath. This is it. The Templars feared this moment more than anything. Whatever we find beyond that path is the ultimate secret of the heart. We have to proceed with respect, or we may not survive it. I swallowed hard, my pulse racing. The pyramid, the heart, and the Guardian had brought us to this final trial. Everything we had learned, the inscriptions, the visions, the alignments, the moral tests, had led to this moment. And as we stepped toward the final path, I knew that what awaited us could change not just our understanding, but the fate of anyone who came after. The pathway ahead was unlike anything we had seen in the pyramid. The walls shimmered faintly, alive with energy, and the floor beneath our feet seemed to pulse in time with the heart above. Every step we took echoed through the chamber, amplified by the immense silence that surrounded us. The Guardian moved beside us, not threatening, but guiding, a sentinel ensuring that only those worthy could proceed. Ahmed's voice was low, tense. This is it. The final stage. The heart will now reveal its ultimate knowledge. The Templars feared this moment above all else. We must proceed with complete understanding, respect, and honesty. I nodded, swallowing hard, feeling the weight of centuries pressing down on me. The orb above pulsed brighter, casting intricate, twisting shadows across the walls. Symbols on the floor glowed in complex patterns, reflecting the alignment of stars, earth, and hidden energy networks. The whispers returned, more distinct than ever. Intent, comprehension, responsibility. We approached the pedestal at the end of the path. The heart hovered above it, radiating light so intense it was almost unbearable to look at directly. And then, the final manifestation began. The chamber filled with visions, cascading over us like a waterfall of knowledge. I saw the construction of the pyramids from the beginning, the alignment of celestial bodies, the rituals performed by ancient priests, and the Templars arriving centuries later to protect the heart. But this time, the visions went further. I saw the consequences of human choices, not just in the past, but potential futures. I witnessed civilizations prospering when knowledge was used responsibly, and collapsing when it was misused. Wars, natural disasters, innovations, and advancements, all intertwined with the flow of energy that the heart controlled. It was a cosmic ledger of human intent and consequence, a repository of understanding that transcended time itself. Ahmed stepped beside me, his eyes wide with awe. This is what the Templars protected. Not treasure, not glory, knowledge, power, insight. But it comes with responsibility, the weight of the world, the future, and the cosmos itself. The Guardian moved closer, its glowing eyes penetrating, examining not just our actions, but our intentions, our comprehension, our moral integrity. The chamber itself vibrated in response, and I could feel the heart communicating directly, a pulse that resonated in my chest, my mind, my very soul. Do you understand? Will you honor this knowledge? I took a deep breath, steadying myself. I realized that passing this final test wasn't about curiosity, courage, or even skill. It was about humility, understanding, and the willingness to bear responsibility. I stepped forward, placing my hands near the orb without touching it, acknowledging its power, its intelligence, its judgment. The whispers grew approving, yet solemn. You understand. You respect. You may proceed. Suddenly, the chamber shifted. Mechanisms we hadn't noticed before moved into place, revealing inscriptions, tablets, and artifacts the Templars had hidden. The Guardian stepped aside, a silent nod of acknowledgement, as if confirming that we were worthy of witnessing the heart's ultimate secrets. The energy in the chamber was no longer threatening. It was alive with potential, guiding, teaching, and illuminating. The heart projected one final vision. It was a map, a network of ancient sites, energy nodes, and alignments that spanned the globe. Symbols hovered over locations, connected by lines of light. The message was clear: humanity's past, present, and future were interconnected, influenced by knowledge, intention, and energy. Those who respected this wisdom could guide civilizations, protect life, and unlock potential. Those who misused it could bring destruction. Ahmed whispered, his voice barely audible. The Templars feared what could happen if this knowledge fell into the wrong hands. But they also left guidance, encoded in the pyramid, for those who would prove worthy. I looked at the Guardian one last time. Its glowing eyes softened, almost approvingly. The heart pulsed one final time, a deep, resonant vibration that seemed to echo not just through the pyramid, but through time itself. It was a blessing, a warning, a gift, and a responsibility, all in one. We stepped back, humbled, aware that we had witnessed something beyond human comprehension. The pyramid, the heart, and the Guardian had tested us, judged us, and revealed the ultimate truth. Knowledge is power, but understanding, respect, and responsibility define whether that power can be wielded safely. As we left the chamber, the whispers faded, replaced by silence. The pyramid returned to its quiet, eternal vigilance, ready to awaken again for those deemed worthy. Ahmed and I exchanged a look, awed, transformed, and forever changed by what we had experienced. The Templars' secret was no longer just history. It was a living, breathing legacy, a testament to human curiosity, restraint, and the eternal pursuit of understanding. We emerged into the daylight, the ordinary world seeming suddenly smaller, simpler, yet infinitely more connected to the ancient forces we had witnessed. And in that moment, I realized, the true journey was not just discovering the heart, it was understanding it, respecting it, and carrying its lessons forward. The pyramid had revealed its deepest secret, and we had survived its judgment. But the weight of that knowledge, the responsibility it carried, would stay with us forever.